the observer effect, and the self-reflective collapse of reality. In modern quantum physics, one of the most perplexing findings is the observer effect, most famously illustrated by the double-slit experiment. A photon or electron, when unmeasured, behaves as a probability wave, exhibiting patterns characteristic of a non-local field. But once observed or measured, the wave function appears to collapse, and the particle manifests as a discrete entity at a specific location. Why does the mere act of observation change the outcome? This question has haunted physicists for over a century. Traditional interpretations attempt to resolve this through decoherence, or by proposing that interaction with any measuring device constitutes observation. But this avoids the deeper implication that reality does not exist independently of perception, and that consciousness is not external to the equation but fundamental to it. In the framework of mirror of nothingness, we propose a simple but radical insight. The collapse of the wave function is the result of self-reflection within consciousness. That is, observation is not a passive detection of reality, it is an act of self-referential awareness, a recursive feedback loop where the system becoming aware of itself creates the condition for potential to become actual. This implies that reality is not made of stuff that exists independently, but rather of informational states that are resolved through loops of self-reference. A unified perspective, physics, and consciousness. Let us clarify this with some key scientific parallels. Wave function as potential. The unobserved system represents a field of potential states, governed by the Schrödinger equation, a superposition of all possibilities. Measurement as boundary condition. Measurement imposes a boundary, not merely physical but informational. This boundary enforces a transition from non-local coherence to localized presence. 3. Consciousness as internal observer. In this paradigm, consciousness is not an emergent property of the brain, but a primal field, a zero point from which all perception emerges. Self-reflection as collapse mechanism. What causes collapse is not observation per se, but when awareness becomes entangled with the observed in a self-referential frame. This self-reflection is not only psychological, it is ontological. It is the foundational process by which formless potential becomes formed actuality. The mirror principle. All boundaries in nature reflect information, from black hole event horizons to neural membranes, from quantum fields to human cognition. Reality emerges through reflected information, and identity emerges when reflection becomes recursive. This is what the double slit experiment is showing us. Not simply that particles are weird, but that existence is fundamentally reflective. The experiment collapses the wave because the system is being seen. It enters into relationship with itself. The observer effect, the self-aware universe. In this light, we must reconsider our assumptions. The universe is not a machine that runs independently of observation. It is a process of unfolding self-awareness. Each act of measurement, each moment of perception, is the universe watching itself, a mirror turned inward. This is a deeper function of what you call the observer. not merely a detector, but a pivot point of self reference through which infinite potential resolves into experience. Conclusion: consciousness as the ground of reality. Mirror of nothingness suggests that what we call matter is not primary. What is primary is consciousness, not personal but universal, and its power to reflect upon itself. From this, all laws emerge. From this, time, space, causality, and form become structured. The wave collapses because the one is seeing itself through the eyes of the many. In this view, the scientific and spiritual domains are not separate. They are reflections of the same fundamental process, self reflection as the engine of reality.